Hey everybody, this is Brent from Silvalcamy Grove Permaculture Homestead, and I am right now on my last cutting of elderberry. This is Bob Gordon, which produces an overabundance of elderberries. And what I'm looking at right now is the riparian buffer zone of this creek through the homestead property. And I've already planted over 140 different elderberry cuttings, wildwood and Bob Gordon. And it's really simple. You take the cutting, and it's one of the things like willow, currant, and elderberry that you can literally just take a cutting, a dormant cutting, and just really just stab it into the ground. And I'll demonstrate that right now. Right here, you can see I'm simply putting it into the ground and making sure the two nodes are in the ground, and there's two nodes above the ground. So that's all you have to do if you have a creek that needs restoration. So they're going to help with the erosion. These roots right there are from the erosion that is taking place when there's storms. The creek floods. I'm sure this creek flooded a lot during hurricanes. So I have to think about that in the design. And in permaculture, the one thing that I learned is design for disaster. So elderberries are a species that likes to grow on the riparian buffer zones, the stream banks right here. You can see the ribbon marking the elderberry that I already put in for cuttings. There's some over here too. Right here's some elderberry, different elderberry planted closely together along the riparian buffer zone of the creek. And they are going to help with erosion control. Thinking about site repair, thinking about the areas in your property that need the most attention, that are heavily degraded, they need to be prioritized. So this riparian buffer zone needs some elderberry. What I did was already removed invasive species. I already moved some privet and some multiflora rose. Well, they had a function. Even though invasive species get a bad name, sometimes they have a function in the ecosystem. We have to remember that. And it's not necessarily their fault. Invasive species, I don't even like to call them that. Opportunistic species is what we call them in permaculture, because they are opportunistic about what areas they colonize and they grow on in. That because they like degraded areas, they like edge, and they like habitats that are disturbed. So humans create a lot of these conditions for these opportunistic species to exist and to thrive. Well, they had a function in this ecosystem. This multiflora rose had a function. It was keeping the soil in place. So in order to fill that role in the ecosystem, well, soil stabilization, soil prevention of erosion, I needed to replace it with something. Always choose natives if possible. And elderberries are a native species that loves growing along the stream banks. All right, so thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something about elderberries and cuttings and simply putting them in the ground. Some people can do that on your property right now. Thanks a lot. Bye.